It is a new year, a new Batavia, and a new garden. So what are we going to plant new in our gardens this year? Are we going to branch out? Well, we're going to talk about that right here on the Backyard Gardens podcast.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening. We are your hosts, Ben in Batavia, and you can find me gardening in the country.
And you'll find me gardening in the city. Get ready as we dig deep into this
wonderful world of gardening, where we learn to grow and grow for change. Has New Batavia worn off yet?
No, but everyone else's patience with New Batavia is we're pretty thin.
You know what? Screw them. They don't get a choice. They have to deal with New Batavia every year.
Yeah, you'd think by now, right? Yeah, these aren't new people. These are people that have known New Year, New Batavia for years.
Years and years.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get started, I just want to say we're doing seed giveaways every month of this year. And in order to win, you need to sign up for our newsletter at backyardgardenstv.com. And we'll put you in for the drawing. So every month, we're going to send out a handful of seeds to people. Different varieties, not just one kind of seed and handful of those.
So just to clarify, in order to be entered, you have to sign up. Like, signing up doesn't mean you just win.
Yeah, no.
That's not how contests work, yeah.
Yeah, no. We would be broke if we did that. But
there have been so many beautiful gardens out.
There are. And I did want to talk about, before we really get into what we're doing this year, what we're trying new, if we are. What do you think about trying new varieties and new vegetables? Do you think that that's like something that should be done, or are you one of those that are like, I like growing what I grow and I'm cool with that? How do you feel about that?
Personally,
this opinion is not affiliated with the Backyard Gardens podcast.
Of course it is, with a third of it at least. So I am always looking for greener grass. I know, it's corny. I'm all about trying new varieties, but I don't toss something that you really like, to replace it with something new that you haven't tried yet.
So do you think that at some point your garden will be a steady, like, everything you want? You might be 75 years old by the time this happens, but you'd have your varieties that you would grow every year. End of subject.
I think so. Back in December, we had an episode like mid-month where you shared how your grandfather, one of your grandparents, talked about how growing a garden, like managing a garden, shouldn't be easy. He doesn't want it to be hard. He wants it to be easy, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not the space I'm in right now. But I imagine at some point, after many more decades of this, I'll probably get there. Right. So the challenge could just be, having a productive garden in general and not introducing, kind of a new crop. Because with a new crop, a new variety, even with the same varieties, it's a chance you won't get the same results year over year. So if you introduce a new variety, there's an unknown factor there. So.
And we've both experienced that too. Yeah. So I feel confident in saying that. Yeah.
It may be sooner than 75, though. I'm just saying.
Well, I was just throwing a number out there. I mean, we're not far off from that. So,
I'm going to tell you this. If I put New Year, New Me aside for a moment.
Oh, no. Don't do that.
Because these words don't come out of New Year, New Batavia's mouth. But the other version of me, I'm still tired from last year. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm on this like epic quest to find the perfect garden. And I don't know what that means. Ultimately it would be beds that are 4 feet high that I don't have to bend over to get in, perfect vegetables that have like zero issues, that grow perfectly in my climate and produce the perfect amount of food for me to grow and eat and preserve and all that stuff. But, I've seen some, just by changing a variety, a certain vegetable has a completely different taste profile for me or different uses, and has come back into the rotation. So I think it's important that people kind of, branch out a little bit, test the waters, and find some new things. But I can also see there being an issue of like comfort. You know what I mean? Like, this is my garden every year. This is what I grow every year. And I'm completely comfortable growing those things every year and no questions asked. You know what to expect. You know how they're going to perform. I think there's a level of comfort that is very tempting in that model.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Well, but there's also that at this stage, there's still that, high degree of curiosity for me. Sometime between now and when I'm 75, which has officially become that cutoff period for me.
Yeah.
I hope that I am connected locally to more gardeners, because like, to experience different things doesn't mean that you have to grow those things, right? That's kind of my story now. Like, sure, I could go to the farmer's market, but I don't know a lot of local gardeners that are growing a bunch of different things or many different things at all. So I'd love to be able to swap some crops, and that's before I even get to bartering to live, so that's my hope as I get into a different garden space, maybe physically, like actual garden space, or just maybe with the people I'm connecting to. But for me as this kind of this single lone gardener, I can't see for the foreseen future me just having a static garden, the same things time over time over time. I know that you're being a little bit dramatic when you talk about the perfect garden, but and the D is silent when I say garden often. But when I was looking at, I'm kind of obsessed with the way that prices have like just skyrocketed on some things. And so even if I'm not buying the thing, I kind of do a price check. Like, what did I pay for it in 2019? What did I pay for it in 2020? In 2021, what was the price in 2022? And so, my the galvanized steel beds that I have in the front yard. So I've been pricing those out, and I'm not buying any new ones, but I've been pricing them out. And then I saw they came up with this new line I think it's called like the short line. So they sit about 22 inches high from the ground today, those beds. And I saw and that takes a lot of soil, right? And so then I saw these short ones, which is something like maybe 6 inches high off the ground. And I'm like, oh, those would have been killer. Like, gosh, I would have loved if they had those when I was buying this, this material. And then I thought how my back sometimes aches when I sit on my milk crate at this 22-inch high bed.
Yeah.
Like, I would kill myself if I was trying to care and feed a bed that's that short. So perfection is going to look a little bit different for me, I think, as I age.
Yeah.
So when you started talking about the perfect garden, then you started talking about how tall you wanted things, and so you would have to bend. And I'm like, yeah, that does sound like perfection.
Yeah.
So,
and you talk about inflation, and that's a big concern for me too going into this, because, as I search for the perfect garden, part of that factor is how can I offset cost and what is going up? And, we just recently found out in December that this inflation is not a temporary thing. It's going to be a continual inflationary, country that we live in. I don't even know if I said that right, but you get what I'm saying.
But I think everyone gets it.
Yeah. And, so I look for different crops, that my family will benefit off of, not just nutritionally, but monetarily. And let's face it, like in this grand scheme of things, like a head of lettuce is not really going to offset any cost if I grow it. Now, that being said, I enjoy to grow it. So not everything in my garden is to that magnitude, to that, I guess, that calculation or whatever you want to say for my garden. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it does. And it really resonates, because I'm not nearly as calculated, and it's very intentional. Like, there's not a whole lot of precision, if you will, with my garden. And I like it that way. It feels a little bit more freeing.
Yeah.
And the way you just described that is just it's confirmation that it doesn't have to be. Like, it's good to be able to hear that again and from someone else. But I will say one thing for sure. I did miss lettuce from the garden last year. And I think it's, like pound for pound, sure, it's not offsetting cost. But when I was catching up with a colleague after, like, we both have had some time off, and he's a vegan, he and his wife, and I'm not. And I was telling him, like, I just felt like I had eaten so many meats and sweets, like, over the break, and I could just feel myself quite literally being heavy. And so I was telling him that, I ended up having this big salad, like it was maybe a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening for dinner. And then, I just said, I just need to eat the other half for breakfast. Like, I need to continue to churn this, get these kind of nutrients into my body. And I was just saying, like, it's not... it's like when you're really, really thirsty, you're dehydrated, and that first drink of water, like, it's that same feeling when I have, like, maybe I've eaten, maybe it's just not meat, maybe it's just not sweets, maybe it's some junk food. Like, I hate to use the term, but I'm going to use it. Maybe my diet hasn't been as clean as I'd like it. Once I return to something, even if it's for a short period, I could just feel like that difference. The heaviness that I felt when I was eating meals, weeks before is different now. So I said all of that to say, having that as something like lettuce in your garden to offset, maybe not cost, but offset your diet a bit, I think it's important. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's a big factor. And I mean, dude, that's one of the top reasons why I grow food. I mean, I think at this point I have like 20 or 30 top reasons that I grow food, but Welcome to my way of life. Yeah, but but it's getting up there more and more. And it's important too to have that stuff just available. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm going to have a salad. Boom, go cut it. Yeah. But, and within the lettuce, let's use that as an example, and you want to grow it, and let's say you do want to save monetarily, well, switching to a different variety that you can't get in the store, now all of a sudden we're talking about how you are ticking that box. Yep, absolutely. You know what I mean? So, and it's the same with kale too. That's a big one too, because I feel like when you go to the grocery store, there's only like one kind of kale. I think it also, I knew that, what is it, just barely 10 minutes in and we got back to kale. I mean, I knew we were going to be here. Well, so, it's that time of year. I've gotten comfortable. But I think also the reminder of, so this is a delayed reaction from the August challenge from last year. This is kind of the closing out the season and the year reflection. And I saw someone say something very similar to this on a video, like, kind of food storage, pantry kind of video. And it was kind of getting used to, no, it wasn't that kind of video. It was a different video. It was kind of like living off of the earth, off grid, because I'm like into all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. On the television screen and on my computer screen. So anyway, talking about getting used to eating the thing that you maybe wouldn't normally eat. Yeah. And so while it's subtle, like, I love romaine lettuce. Like, I love the crunch. I love the crispiness. We're not going to argue, because it's new year, new me, about the nutritional value in lettuce and how much protein young Ben says in lettuce. We're not going to go there. But I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite types. And it's as plain gets, right? And the intention is to be able to introduce, in this example, a new lettuce, because it breaks me of the habit of wanting the thing I want all the time. Right. Chasing the thing I want all of the time. And so I think that that's just a healthy exercise, if you will, Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, for instance, in my garden right now, radishes are a big one that I have multiple varieties growing. And when I go to the grocery store, all I can get is the champion radish, I believe, just like your standard red radish. Yeah. But they do have different flavors and different sizes, and so therefore there's different uses and all these things, and it's about exploring food. I think that's what it's, for me and for my family, that's what a lot of this is about. And when you're trying different varieties, we are exploring different foods. So Ben has this like faux background. You know how they do now on the interweb. And so he can't see. I can't figure out where to put my hand to let him know I'm about to hit the button, the bell. So absolutely agree when it comes to exploring food, because like I know it's you I'm talking to. Nope, don't deny it. It's you. You have been making the same meals week over week. You have been picking up the same takeout week over week. You have gotten bored with food. Like, if it's not now, it has been some point in your life, and probably often. Right. Yeah. And so there are a bunch of memes that are going around for like people that are like in our generation, like somewhere in your 40s, maybe some 30-year-olds are doing it too. Like, I can't believe this is what adulting is. Like, this is what adult life is. Like, I have to decide every day what I'm going to eat. Like, really, and I think it's hilarious. I mean, it's definitely in jest. I think it's hilarious. But believe you me, there's some days I'm just like, I just don't, nope. I'm eating crackers, saltines, So I think that the kind of trying new varieties, not only does it keep gardening interesting, it also keeps your plate, what's happening in the kitchen, interesting.
Exactly. So look, let's do this. Let's explore our food and keep it interesting. When we get back from this break, we'll talk about what we're growing new, if we're growing anything new in our gardens next year. Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Backyard Gardens podcast.
If you like what we're doing and you want to continue to support the podcast, head over to our Patreon page to sign up.
You can also make a one-time donation using PayPal. Both of these links are in the description.
With your support, we can continue growing and helping others in their gardens. See ya.
We want everybody to have a garden, and we're going to give you a chance to win free seeds every month.
Head over to backyardgardenstv.com and enter your email address to be entered in all of our giveaways.
Good luck.
So I think I lost time. Like, I was watching the time and it was like, okay, yeah, we're about to approach our break. And then it was like 25 minutes into the show. Like, wait, hold on. What happened? I just kept on going on and on. It was like
Men in Black. 25 minutes because mine doesn't say that. So
it was like Men in Black the movie. Like, I just blinked, like some flash of light came over, and it was
you lost time.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That'll be on the conspiracy section of the Backyard Gardens podcast coming soon. Backyard conspiracies. No, so so I mean, you guys know now. You know how we feel about food in our gardens today. Yeah, it's look, I can't run for president because everybody would be like, you remember when you said this? I'm like, yeah, well, I changed my mind. That's how it is. But for today, that's how it is. So I think it's safe to say that both of us are trying new things in our garden this year. So Batavia, kick us off. What are you growing new? What is one thing you're growing new? Or
look
all
at you
of them, I don't care.
Trying to fast track us into the episode. I still have a statement to make. New year, new me. I hated preparing for this episode because I hated, like, in January making decisions about what I was going to grow new. Like, I felt like I don't want to do it now. I'll figure it out later, which probably isn't really the truth, so it's a good thing that we're talking about this early in the season. But boy, was I dragging my feet. So all of that said, I'm going to go with Ooh, thank God for a new year, new me. We're going to move along.
Look, I'm testing the waters.
Chives. Yeah. New. Never grown them before.
I got to get off this view. I can't see what's going on.
Yeah, well, it's okay. It's your choice.
Let me see the chives.
Chives.
Okay, yeah, chives.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, okay.
Are you? Listen now. I can roll back. I can roll back. New year, new me. Because
no. Please don't.
As the young kids say, you want the smoke. That's what it sounds like.
I'm starting to love New Batavia. So go ahead.
No. It is a good friend of mine. Once made a suggestion that new gardeners should start off with herbs. Like, the question is, what should a new gardener start off with?
Damn, and that person sounds smart.
Well, I mean, they're a good friend, so I'd hate to speak badly of them. So I'm just going to say that. And and I firmly disagree when he said it, and I still disagree when Ben says it.
You had to say the name.
But there is absolutely influence by what you've had good experiences with when you answer a question like that. And then what you enjoy, right? And so this past year, I had a better year when it came to herbs, and I made a conscious decision to cook more with fresh herbs. And so I think that, and I'm kind of throwing chives into the herb family, I kind of think that it's given me the courage, if you will, or the desire, or both, to expand a little bit further. So that's why something like chives, which, seems pretty simple, is on my list.
Have you grown chives before?
No, it's something new. Are we not? What episode is this?
Well, no, I know, but I mean, like way back in the past.
Nope.
Okay.
Never.
Because so first of all, in my mind, if you grew something 10 years ago and you didn't, and then you go back, I think you can call it a new thing.
The statute of limitations has run out. I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. The gardening statute of limitations. I like it.
I know you would.
I grew chives one year, and something went wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah. Something went crazy wrong, and they ended up being like 4 feet tall and about as big around as like, I don't want to say your wrist, but I mean like your thumb or something. It was crazy how big they got. And I remember I was eating them and I was like, I don't know how to eat these. I don't know what to do with them. Like, I would take them to my job and just leave them there, and people would be like, what is this? I'm like, these are chives, apparently. Because it was that time when I was a new gardener and I was like, I don't know what to grow. So I just started grabbing seedlings and putting them in. So,
well, there's a pretty factor once they flower, but it's described as to be like a mild onion, Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing that I probably recognize that I've had chives on would be like a baked potato. It's pretty common. Yep.
I tried to say it at the same time as you.
I love potatoes. So if I got to eat baked potatoes all year to use my chive harvest, so be it.
You could put them on baked turnips. There it is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You clearly seem underwhelmed by it, but hey, it's not about you. This is about what I'm growing in my garden.
Hey, look, it's your garden. You do what you want.
Oh, wait. Okay. It is about you now. All right. So what's yours?
Oh, shit, it is. Yeah. So this isn't going to be a surprise to anybody, but it's going to be peanuts. So I said it in a podcast before, and I'm actually like super stoked about it. And, it's like part of me being on my mission to include more proteins into my garden because we are ovo-pescatarians, so we don't eat any. We don't really eat any meat, and I will eat meat if I hunt it or anything like that, but otherwise we don't eat meat. So it's all about adding in more proteins and more healthy fats. And it's also in a strive to limit the amount of peanuts that I eat. I know it sounds dumb, but I'm addicted to peanuts and peanut butter. And so I figure if I grow peanuts, then I don't need to buy peanuts because I'll have some peanuts and then I can fill my need with that. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but and I like boiled peanuts a lot. If you ever had boiled peanuts, you got to try it. It's delicious. So, yeah, we can do a recipe for that sometime if you guys want. But that's going to be up there. And as I've looked into it, man, they're super cool to grow. So did I go into last time on the air or off the air how the peanut grows?
On the air.
I did? Okay. So there you go. You can go back to that episode and find out. But I'm super interested to see it grow. And that's definitely, even in the transformation that's going to be undergoing in the wild garden, it's definitely a candidate for the wild garden. So that's going to be, it's exciting too, that I'm adding something, whereas before it'd be like, oh, I'll just put a tomato in there, not worry about it. Well, I can eliminate that and actually put a true crop in there for that purpose. So I'm excited to kind of utilize that space like it was meant to be, even though I was kind of worried it wasn't going to be that way.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing how peanuts do for you.
Yeah, I am too. I'm curious. They're 130 days.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, which I'm actually going to jump into one of mine, and a reason why I'm going to give it a try is because
wait. Can I say one more thing?
Of course you can.
So it's in relation to you and growing peanuts up north. It was actually the reason why I decided to do it. It was because I saw a listener had reached out and showed me their peanuts they had grown. I think they live in Minnesota, maybe something like that.
Oh shit! Hey!
Yeah, like Yeah, so they had a successful harvest. And I was like, well, shit, if you can grow them successfully in your climate, then I know that my climate, I'm not saying as a gardener, I'm saying as climate, want to be very clear that, I have a much better chance of getting more of a harvest off of a plant. So that's what I wanted to add.
And the oh shit was, one of the handful of places that I bow down to when it comes to, damn, if they can get through winter, generally it's colder in Minnesota than it is in Illinois. Or once that weather hits, I should say that. So, okay. All right. Well, where I was headed was winter squash, and specifically because I have grown butternut squash before, and only one season. And I pulled butternut squash and spaghetti squash. And I pulled a lot of unripe squash off of the vine. I did start them a little bit later outside, direct sow the middle of June. This goes back to 2020. And by the time I got to the first frost, they hadn't, only a couple had ripened. And they're not one of those vegetables that ripen once you take them off the vine. So with that in mind, I haven't decided if I'm going to grow butternut squash again, but I am definitely going to give buttercup, which is more of like an acorn squash.
Yeah.
And because it's a smaller squash, it should take a shorter period of time to develop. It's listed at 90 days. I'm pretty sure butternut squash, I don't have my seeds with me. I think it's listed at 100 days. So my hope is to be able to get more plants to fruit, I should say, more vegetables to get to the point of ripeness before the frost hits. So that's the reason why I'm giving it a try. Plus I have the seeds because at some point I was in a store and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. So let me see. These are just a note. Yeah, these are best sale by 2020. So I bought these in 2020 and haven't grown them yet. So
you're fine.
Here we are.
You're good.
Oh, no, I know I'm fine. But I guess I'm just saying, follow the trend here. I bought something.
Yeah.
This isn't the 3-year thing. This is just I bought something in 2020, didn't get around to it, forgot about it in 2021. So here it is. It's made my new list.
Yeah, I've never grown an acorn squash. I've grown spaghetti and butternut as well. And I'm really kind of impartial to the acorn style squashes. I don't have a problem with them. For some reason, I've never grown them. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Maybe the look doesn't appeal to me of the vegetable. I don't know. I just never have done it. But
I mean, I feel like I don't know that maybe I've had some type of soup at a restaurant or something. And now I'm saying it out loud. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I should just pick up one from the store and give it a try. But which I probably will do before we get to the point of planting this. But I look at it and I can't imagine it tastes much different than butternut squash. But someone may, if you know, let me know.
It's I think the big difference I noticed was the actual meat of the squash was a little bit more grainy than a butternut squash.
Oh, I don't like that.
But I don't think it was I don't think it's terrible. I just think that it was a little bit more grainy. I think it is, if my mind is not playing tricks on me.
I mean, okay, so you don't think it's terrible. I mean, okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is I don't think that the texture of it is as bad as it sounds when I say that. Does that make sense?
I'm just giving you a hard
time. Should I
time.
open my mouth and put my foot in it, or should I just keep going?
No. We're working on extracting it now, so you're fine.
So, so I'm doing a different variety of tomato this year. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the Homesteader tomato. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try that out. Last year I did, what did I do? I did different varieties last year of tomatoes, which, as you know, and I've said before, I typically only grew Roma tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And so last year I kind of branched out a little bit. I'm going to go back to the Roma tomatoes, but I'm also going to do the Homesteader, which is more of a slicer. Mm-hmm. And I believe that it was a semi-determinate tomato. And that's why I landed on that one. And it was specifically good for my climate. So I figured, last year I did indeterminate tomatoes. They got 10 feet tall. It quickly got out of hand. You know what I mean? Yeah. I went out there and I massacred them and just trimmed them. But this year I said, well, let me not go back to the determinate, because the fact of the matter in my area is the indeterminate tomatoes, while they will produce year round, the disease will always get them. Mm-hmm. So the growing of them and then treating the disease is not worth the effort of just, instead of just doing that, growing a determinate and then planting it, a second crop, because I can get away with a second crop here. So it doesn't really work for me to kind of take that chance with the indeterminate. Not saying I would not grow another one, but I think a semi-determinate, if it works out, would be a good bet.
So for your determinate tomatoes, for the Romas in previous years, when were you done with those? It sounds like you were done a combination of disease and the plant had produced what it was going to produce. Like, were you pulling tomato plants out of the garden with all ripe tomatoes on the plant, or?
Usually it's the disease, so I don't know how long they go for. You know what I mean? Like, when you do your determinate tomatoes, when are they done?
Mine have run the length of the season, which
that's
means
the thing.
through. But again, it's starting in, let's say, late May, early June through. I still have green tomatoes on those plants at the end of October. Last year was the only year that I think I only had one determinate. It didn't stay healthy. I pulled it based on disease first. But I just think that the window isn't long enough for it to. Well, I mean, so the idea of a determinate plant, though, if we go back, and so forgive me for bouncing around here, is all of this fruit comes on the plant basically around the same time, right? And that's been my experience for determinants. But my window of time for growing is never long enough to see all of those tomatoes ripen also on the plant. That makes sense?
Okay, yeah, it does make sense. So I know they all come on at once, but I'm not so sure by my experience that they will quit producing. I think that they quit growing up.
Yeah.
I feel
so
like that's
they're more
really
compact,
the key. Yeah, they're more compact. Sorry about that. I bumped the mic. So what that means to me is, they'll stay, I want to say 4 feet tall is typically what they would do. And then I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, my last time I grew Roma tomatoes, which are determinate variety. And I think I pulled them in late August because the disease was just so bad. So, but they were still producing tomatoes in late August. So, I mean, I don't see why you would need to grow an indeterminate tomato unless you live somewhere like Florida or, somewhere where it just stayed warm all year round. But at some point, either the sun gets too low here or it'll start getting too cool where it would go ahead and, kill them off anyways or slow the production down to the point where it really mattered. And just for the record, determinate is just like Batavia said, supposedly, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, they only grow to a certain height and then all the fruits come on at once. Where indeterminate, they just kind of keep growing and keep producing all summer long. So that's
until
what, in case you didn't know.
Until disease. Oh, no, sorry.
Disease or frost will get them, yes. Or you pull them.
Yeah.
So the semi-determinate, I have reservations about it. I see the smirk on your face, and my smirk is right there with you. It's just like a bush growing cucumber. Like, I've grown them before, and you still got to have a trellis right there because they don't really grow like a bush.
Yeah. So because you did this, I'd like to apologize for all of the mic hitting that I did in 2021 and early 2022. I'm just going to do that one apology for all of it. I mean, I think it's definitely, there's a maintenance aspect. So when we say they all come on at once, it's not like you wake up and there are a whole bunch of tomatoes. It's gradual, and then there's an end in sight, right? When it comes to setting fruit, right? And you and I have talked about offline about how that's great if you have like this real canning operation going, because you basically are getting that fruit at the same time, or batches of it, they're ripening at the same time. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do anything about it in 2022. But the size of the tomato plants that I grow, it's not a benefit to me, so I could definitely benefit more from some heavier pruning. And I have good intentions at the beginning of the year, and then, the garden season catches up with me, and then it's just a jungle.
Yeah.
So I definitely get the struggle of the indeterminate tomato plants that you had last year and how large they got, because it's just not that tomato plant is large and it's a pain if you're tying it up and staking it all. It has impacts on other parts of your garden because there's a lot of shading that those plants create.
That's surprising. It's not tying it up. I mean, look, tying it up is tying it up. It is what it is, but it was literally shading everything out, and it got pretty bad last year where I think it actually worked out in my favor, but some things definitely got an issue. And that's one thing that I've been trying to improve this year as I make my garden plan is like, clearly, my season has just ended. It's real fresh in my mind. Mm-hmm. So I'm remembering like, okay, this got shaded out bad by this, such, yada, yada, yada. And, this square foot mentality that I had, I don't like it. It didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. So it's time to kind of move on and make some changes. But it's all about planning it out right. And, so hopefully the semi-determinate, maybe it'll get to 5 or 6 feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping, but it will continue to produce on and on. But the big thing for me is the description for it, if I remember correctly, was saying that like it grows really good in like North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And I'm in North Carolina, so should be well.
Okay.
Give us your next one.
I'd be interested in how that tomato tastes, the Homesteader.
I'm sure it tastes just like a regular tomato, but I'm not a tomato connoisseur like you are, so.
You drive me crazy. New year, new me.
I know I do.
You know how many times that I chant that in my head? New year, new me. So my next one, and this may be the only bush bean that I grow next year, because I think I'm going to, for this year, for 2022, I'm going to focus more on vining beans. And this is a bush bean. I bought the seeds. It's a Gold Rush bush bean. And nice. So, yeah, I know. It speaks against everything we've talked about when it comes to, hey, it's a simple bean, just like make it that way. But I mean, how cool is a yellow bean or a gold bean, right? My hope is that it makes it easier for me to harvest. Remember your luck with the purple beans, so that they stand out. So if I'm going to have to bend down and harvest something, I'd rather it be gold than blending in and be green. So yeah, that's pretty simple. It's a bush bean, but the variety is Gold Rush.
Well, that's a good example too, though. Like like last year was my first purple bean year, and that has now become a staple within my garden. Mm-hmm. So I will move away from green beans, and I will do purple, or for lack of a better term, purple green beans.
Yeah.
Moving forward, because I enjoyed them, they were easier to see, and all so on. So that's how last year was. You tick mark that box. Done.
It says that it is a good container variety, which really any bush bean is. And I don't know, you're a big bean eater, kind of pole bean or string bean. That's what I meant when I said kind of runner beans before. It says it holds its quality both on the plant and post-harvest, which, that speaks to me if that's true. So that speaks to the whole idea of those beans were harvested on Tuesday, and guess what? It's Saturday. You still haven't done anything with them. They should be just as good.
I have that all the time, so I can't comment either way. Well, I'll do your bush bean, and I'm not doing bush green beans, but I'm going to do edamame this year. So I know I talked about it in the last one too, and it's again another step in the protein portion of my garden, but we have multiple uses for it. And there's a good case for it being just frozen and then cooked with in our meals instead of canning. So that makes it very attractive to us. But I think that it has a much longer growing season than a green bean, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that. And the other idea of it too is, from what I understand, I get mixed. I've had mixed research on it. But it looks to me like it's a possibility that they will all pretty much ripen at the same time. So when you harvest the whole plant. So there will be some experimentation with that over the next year.
Which I know is something that you've been interested in, doing less cutting coming in and more taking the whole plant.
Yeah, I mean, I like cutting coming in. It's really sexy when it comes to those things because it's like you plant one and it keeps producing. But, with the green beans and stuff, the bush beans, like I don't have that experience. I have the experience of like a big flush. And then by the time they come back around, they've been chewed up by bugs. The heat's gotten to them. Something's happened. You know what I mean? And not only that, but then they get super tall and then they just fall over and then I have like a bush bean laying on the ground.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this works out. I definitely was looking at my garden plan because, I'm in like number 15 of plans for the year. And there is an excessive amount of edamame in there. So I need to kind of tweak that a little bit. But we'll see. That's a big part of what we eat.
Oh, okay. Just in your normal diet?
Yeah, we try to eat a lot of it because it's a good source of protein. You get a lot for what you eat. So, I don't know if you could. My wife was asking, she's like, well, are you going to try and make tofu with it? I'm like, hell, I have no idea because that's fermented soybeans. I don't even know if you can do that. So, we're going to take it one step at a time. I
know, right? I'm here for the one step at a time. All right, so my next one, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, sorrel, Sorrel. So one more time, these seeds are from 2019. Shut up! It's New Year, New Me, which means you shouldn't judge me.
I don't even know what sorrel is. What is it?
Yeah, it's described as kind of a mix between a spinach and a chard. Which kind of speaks, it's right up my alley, right?
Yeah.
From what I can tell, it's perennial. And so I'm absolutely into a variety of greens. Like that's important to me. It wasn't a part of my 2022 goal, but it's something that over these last handful of years, I've really kind of I've been tinkering with maybe in my garden. And so especially these things that I'm not finding in the grocery stores often. So yeah.
I was reading about it right here. It's got a lemony flavor.
Yeah, it's it's one of those spring
tang.
Yeah, one of those spring greens. The folks in Europe love it. It seems pretty popular there. Yeah, so lemony spinach is the way it's described on the package.
That'd be an interesting flavor. I think it would be really good to add to like salads and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's refreshing. I'm also looking for some quick turn greens as well. So, everyone knows I love my all year long growing collards, but I do also want some greens that are going to have quick turnover, or that I feel okay about pulling out, moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
This also feeds into me expanding my spring garden a bit.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. A little bit more expansion. Can't go wrong with that.
That's the reason why I'm here.
And are you going to replace that? Is that replacing something or is it just in addition to?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Remember how I said at the top of the episode that I hated preparing for this because it meant I had to make decisions about my garden I wasn't ready to make?
Yeah.
So these are kind of my starting points, what we're talking about here. And then other things are going to be folded in. So I'm not necessarily swapping out one thing for another. That's not it. But if I get to the point where I run out of space, then these are the things that are planted and some others probably will be left off. So a good example, unrelated crops. If I had to choose, I'd grow this instead of sorrel, instead of arugula as an example. But I don't have an active plan to say remove one thing.
Yeah.
Which actually brings up a great question. How in the hell do you fit all of this in if you're not swapping something else out? That's why I hate this episode. Stop making me think. No one wants to think critically about the garden.
You
Not
can
yet.
do it.
New year, new me.
You can do it.
New year, new me.
So I'm changing varieties of okra this year. And I'm doing Cajun Jewel okra.
So close.
What'd you think?
No, it wasn't close at all, but go on.
What'd you think?
I'm changing, or I'm trying a new variety this year as well, and it would be cool if it was the same one. Maybe not.
What are you doing?
Star of David.
That was good. My second choice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the okra lady who we had on last year, that was one of her favorites. I'm pretty sure that's why the name stuck with me. So I picked up some seeds for that, and I'm going to give that a try. It's definitely a shorter, fatter okra pod, which I tried pickled okra for the first time. Remember my great aunt that I talk about? And, well, two things. One, I can't believe I'm 44. It's been said. And I've just tried pickled okra. Two.
I'm bleeping that out just so you know.
Whatever, do what you want to do with it. I'm okay with it. So I plucked all of those gray hairs that, popped up. And I'm not going to get my hair dyed for another couple of months. So beyond that, I'm okay with it. One, she mentioned that, she was visiting some family, and one of her nieces had bought it from the grocery store, and she asked me, this is my great aunt asking, hey, have you tried it? Have you? I'm like, oh, no, I intend to each year, and I never get around to it. So I said, I'm going to buy a jar to see if I really like it and love. Two, I'm preparing myself for the jar I have and the taste that I'm now looking for to not be the taste that I get when I pickle it myself, but that's okay. So the shorter, fatter okra, I think, will serve me better as a gardener. Like the idea of, I'm going to go ahead and harvest this now versus waiting to get, the dance we do with harvesting your typical size okra.
Yeah. So the Cajun Jewel.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, dude.
You're fine.
I just totally stepped all over your. No, why don't we just arm in arm? That was ours together.
It's fine. It's a smaller plant, so that's something that I was curious about because again, shading issues. Having a smaller, more compact 2 to 3 foot plant will allow me to interspace it throughout my garden in a better way than having this giant 9-foot okra tree in my garden that I have to get a chainsaw out to cut down at the end of the year, which I don't mind. Don't get me wrong, but I would rather have multiple plants instead of like 1 or 2. You know what I mean? And then that way it's easier for me to harvest, so I don't have to get up. I mean, dude, 2 years ago, I had to get up on a ladder to get them. You know what I mean? And then I was like grabbing, I'd bend it over and it'd break, and it was just this big cluster. So
do you prefer for okra to grow them in like a patch where there's one bed that has a bunch of plants, or do you want to put them in different places in your garden?
So I prefer to put things, as long as I can fit them, I prefer to put them all in one section. Look, now we're going to have version 16 of my garden because I just had a thought, but that's neither here nor there. But I would prefer just to kind of patch them together. And usually I only grow one plant because it's all that we need. I mean, one plant gives you so much okra. So I think next year having multiple small plants will work out better because then I can stagger them so they don't all come at once. I can succession plant. There we go. You like how I said that? Like I slowed down as it was like a teaching moment? It felt very dumb when I said it.
That's okay. It sounds good.
But no, I mean that's kind of the plan behind that because it's all about, for me, it seems the overarching theme this year is more manageable. I think that's what I'm looking for, more manageable plants and stuff like that. So.
It's interesting because that ties back to the top of the show where we talked about kind of the changes in your garden. And so if you stick with what you know what height to expect, how wide those plants are going to get. But when you're introducing something different and new into your garden, right? Sure, there's packaging that tells you approximations, but
yeah.
Now
you
don't really know until you get it into your garden.
I definitely think we should trade some okra seeds now. Because I definitely wanted to grow. Star of David was like my second one that I was like, I think I want to do that. So. And
someone online recommended, it was a different variety, but a shorter plant as I was trying to grow okra, regular okra, if you will, in containers. And they recommended basically a smaller variety plant. And so that could be good for me.
There's version 17. Damn it. I
You're
love
welcome.
this conversation. We're having a good day today. Papa Bear's getting it planned out.
There it is,
Because
man.
I'm adding more containers into my garden this year. And that's something that I've struggled with is like what to put in the containers. You know what I mean? Like what are good candidates for these? And, you know, and then one prime spot is actually, I have a huge container in front of the greenhouse. Mm-hmm. And if I can put something in that container that gets big, it will shade that greenhouse and slow it from being 150 degrees in there.
That's a great
and
point.
Cooking my soil. There are no pests in my greenhouse because it was just charred earlier this year. I'm joking. There's pests, but
it's a
I have
pretty
aphids
friendly
right now. I have aphids right now in my greenhouse.
Oh my gosh, dude. December, I was harvesting kale, your curly kale, and your Georgia collards, right? And so I had one batch, the kale I was cleaning for aphids, and the other batch, the collards, I was cleaning for cabbage worms. And it's kind of like I was fighting the fight. Like this is one more reason Ben doesn't like curly kale, because it was a pain in the ass trying to get into those nooks and crannies to clean them.
Look, you brought it up. I didn't.
Yeah, I don't have aphid trouble all year long through kale, but once it gets to the end of the season, for sure. So you have the honors of doing the last one.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of lump a few together quickly. I'm going to do white egg turnips, and I'm going to continue with different radishes and stuff like that. And also, I can't think of the other one. So, but the one issue that I'm having right now, which is the downside of trying a different variety, is the white egg turnips look very similar to some of the radishes I grow. So I'm not totally sure which is which. So what I've reverted to is actually using science and like identifying the leaves. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, this is a radish, this is a turnip. So I'm starting to nail that. I didn't expect it because it's always been fairly obvious. But now moving forward, I do see that as being an issue. And the only reason why I'm trying a different variety is just for a different look. You know what I mean? Different look on the plate. Other than that, like I could care less. And I'm probably going to go back to the purple top turnips and rutabagas just because I like them. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to try something new just to say I did.
Well, there's also, for those kinds of crops, you don't have to worry about buying seeds and then you'll have those seeds for now. Like, it's not like a package of lettuce seeds. Like, you could get through a package of those seeds in a season. So you could either decide that you don't want to grow that anymore and you're done with it, or you can let them go to seed and you can save seed. So, yeah. Okay.
And that's definitely on the list of things to do too, is saving more seeds. So as we do these different varieties and I harvest one, I'm like, ooh, that was good. Saving the seeds.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
so
on you.
On that note, I believe it's time for Miss Batavia to give you the recipe of the day. If you guys want some Backyard Gardens gear,
go to the link below and check out our t-shirts, mugs, pint glasses, and other gear.
All purchases go towards helping to support the show, so thank you so much in advance, and we hope you enjoy.
We want you to be a part of our gardening community. DM us a picture of your garden at Backyard Gardens TV on Instagram, and we will share it with our listeners. So this is a garbage salad. I mean, that's what I describe it as. I discovered, and people have done this for eons, like you basically clean out your refrigerator and cook a whole bunch of things. And so I had roasted from the previous day, broccoli, roasted carrots, oil. I seasoned them with like some seasonings. I don't remember what, probably just your garlic, onion powder, and salt and pepper. So they were in the refrigerator. They were cold. I had some romaine lettuce, not from the garden, but romaine lettuce. So I cut that up. I had some store-bought cucumbers. I know, judge me, but remember, it's new year, new me. Cut those up. I had lime, squeezed a bit of lime on the lettuce and the cucumbers. I boiled a handful of penne pasta. Any kind of pasta will do. I just wanted that texture. So a little bit of pasta, the cold broccoli, cold carrots. I still had tomatoes from the garden. Come on. Homemade croutons. Remember, I realized I could make them at home last year. Avocado and a tinge of Caesar dressing. It's one of my favorites. Maybe not the best for you, but because of the creaminess of the avocado and the lime juice, I didn't need to add a lot. It basically had the looseness that I wanted in the salad. And yeah, that's my my 2022 salad cleanse.
I am a big fan of Caesar dressing as well.
Yeah.
For some reason lately, I've been on like a Caesar kick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. I also roasted, I forgot about this. I know, I said it was a junk salad. I also roasted garbanzo beans and added them. Mm-hmm.
Chickpeas?
Chickpeas, yep.
I hate that it has two names. It drives me crazy.
Makes me sick too.
Yeah, why you gotta have two names for? It's like
we gotta complicate things.
What were we watching? Oh, we were watching, my son is 7 years old. And so we were watching Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I was like, man, this is driving me crazy. Like, everybody's got like 5 names. I cannot keep up with all these different names. Like, why y'all got to have different names for? My name is Ben. Mm-hmm. My name will always be Ben. It will not change. Thank you. You know what I mean? It just drives me insane. But
it was one of the challenges, and I know you haven't watched it yet, one of the challenges that I faced originally with the Game of Thrones, that series, was keeping up with all of the characters, all of the character names.
Do they all have different names too? Multiple names?
I don't know. Maybe it was just that there were a lot of names to keep up with. So maybe it was the quantity of characters, but
that's a little bit different, but it's right up there too. So
new year, new me.
New year, new Batavia. New year, new varieties and vegetables in our gardens. So let us know what you're growing new in your gardens. You know, let us get it. Lettuce. Ha ha ha.
No, I didn't get it. I love
it. I'm curious, for a long time I always grew the same things, and now moving forward. Oh, patty pan squash is another one I'm doing. Sorry.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how I forgot that, but I'm actually kind of excited about it too. But I mean, each year I've grown different things, and some things have become staples and some things have not. And the good thing about it is, like, especially if you catch it early on, you're like, this tastes like shit. You can move on to something quick and just get it out of there. And, I always have a backup plan too. So if something doesn't work in your garden for this year, do you have a backup plan to replace something?
Stop making me think. It's new year, new me. I'm chill. I'm relaxed. No, I don't have a backup plan. I'm on version like -1 of my garden plan. So.
Yeah, so if something goes wrong and I'm like, this isn't going to work, it's either going to be a squash that goes in its place, because by that time the squash vine borers should be gone, so I should be able to squeeze out a harvest, or it's going to be chard. Those are my backup plans.
So I will comment, and I wouldn't consider it a backup plan because it's just something I'm considering. I'm really toying around with prepare yourself, folks. This is new year, new me. Some of what I say just isn't logical. I'm preparing myself to use some of my vegetable growing space to grow a few more flowers. I know.
So one thing I have to say, when you said some things I say just aren't logical because it's a new year, new you, what's different from any other day?
This is just a test of new year, new me. It's just rolling off of my back. Nope, there's no reaction here. You pushed me to the limit, and I went over it. I stepped into old year, old me during this episode, but I'm holding strong at the end.
All right, everybody. Now that we've got old Batavia back, we're going to let her cool off. Go.
Yeah, I forgot. So for these vegetables, I think we have like 10 plus. If you've grown some of these things and you have some cool ways to use them, hit us up. Please and thank you.
Yes. Yeah, hit us up. And I think we definitely need to be talking more about how to use some of these vegetables that we grow too. So I think that's something that I have my mind on. We can talk about growing vegetables all day long, but at some point we need to explore like what's new, what's good. What's a new way to use them, what's a new way to eat them, prepare them, preserve them, whatever.
Well, Leonard, this actually, hold on a second, Ben. So Leonard, we need to make a footnote for this episode, because when we wrap up 2022, we really need to reflect back on this as well, right? So these types of things that we're growing, and how did we use them or not? So I'm just putting it out there.
Leonard ain't going to remember nothing. All right, everybody, check out all the links. Support us if you'd love to become a patron. If you'd love to join the community garden, please do it. Help support the show. T-shirts available down below, Amazon store. All these things help keep us on the air for you and keep us growing so we can bring you more of this gardening thing that we do. So until next time, much love to you guys.
See ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Please follow us on YouTube at Backyard Gardens TV.
Instagram at Backyard Gardens TV. Over on our website, backyardgardenstv.com. And then we have Patreon at Backyard Gardens.
And don't forget to check out our links below to help the show. Thank you so much for joining us as we learn to grow and grow for change. Cut.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Backyard Gardens podcast.
If you like what we're doing and you want to continue to support the podcast, head over to our Patreon page to sign up.
You can also make a one-time donation using PayPal. Both of these links are in the description.
With your support, we can continue growing and helping others in their gardens. See ya.
If you guys want some Backyard Gardens gear,
go to the link below and check out our t-shirts, mugs, pint glasses, and other gear.
All purchases go towards helping to support the show, so thank you so much in advance, and we hope you enjoy. We want everybody to have a garden, and we're going to give you a chance to win free seeds every month.
Head over to backyardgardenstv.com and enter your email address to be entered in all of our giveaways.
Good luck!
We want you to be a part of our gardening community. DM us a picture of your garden at Backyard Gardens TV on Instagram, and we will share it with our listeners.